Desolation Marines are one of the most hated units in all of Warhammer 40,000. People have called them overcosted, clunky, and useless. And before they were nerfed into the ground, people told them busted, broken, the most unreasonably overpowered things in the game. And at that time, they very close to were. They were Wraith Knights. But I digress. So here's the truth. In the right detachment, currently, Desolation Marines are absolutely devastating. I really wanted to say desolating, but it just went worse. And today I'm going to show you exactly how these guys are going to dominate the battlefield and give you a huge leg up in competition against all of the heretical Xenos friends that you're going to be playing into, because that's just the story. So how the heck are we going to make these bad boys work? Let's get into Desolation Marines. Here's the big deal. They don't suck. People think they suck. Like I said, they did start busted, and they were immediately nerfed once the codex was released. And until recently, I was thinking, like most of the people in the world, that, oh, okay, Desolation Marines are basically useless. They are 200 points for 5 Marine bodies. Okay, sure, they each get to shoot indirect that hit on 4s now. That's going to be D3 shots at Strength 4, AP 0, Damage 1 with Blast. And then you got the one guy with the Vanguard Launcher, which will be D6 Blast shots, Strength 7, AP 1, Damage 2. Their ability is that if they don't move, they get to ignore cover, which is cool, I suppose. But for that amount of cost, why the heck would you ever bring these things? Oh, and let's not forget they all will also have a las cannon, and if that hit on 4s. Well, actually, strength 10 las cannon that hit on 4s. So like a bad las cannon. So people look at these guys and they go, okay, 200 points, I can just do better, and they completely gloss over there. But, oh, my friends, these guys will open up so many matchups for you if you just join me for this journey. So let's hop right on into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a bunch of really good use cases, and then I'm going to break down exactly the detachments that they are great in, and then I'm going to give you one huge tip on how to actually implement them that is going to just, it's gonna brighten your day. All right, so basically they are an indirect threat into chaff, and I know for 200 points, I can kill chaff with other things. I'm gonna build out why this is a really big deal, because what they do is they are going to be solving the trading crisis that Marines are going to find themselves in. One of the biggest problems with Space Marines is that they're probably just, it's so hard to get that extra unit that they really need. They cannot trade efficiently into other armies. Like, yes, I know that if you are a Imperial Knights player, you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? You can't trade efficiently. I've got way less units than you. Stop it. But as far as a lot of enemy armies are concerned, Space Marines do not trade well because their units are generally going to be slightly higher costed, even though they are a little bit more durable. But with the lethality in 10th edition 40k, that increased slight durability doesn't really matter all that much. So they do not trade well. And when I say trade, what I mean is your opponent puts an unit out on the center objective for area denial, and they put a 40-point unit of Gretchen out there. Well, if you're going to go kill that 40-point unit of Gretchen, you're going to have to expose a 80 to 90-point unit of Space Marines. And you'll kill their 40-point Gretchen, but then they get to kill your 80 to 90-point unit of Space Marines, and that is a very, very big problem. It means you're losing the trade war, and you're always trading down in the amounts of points. So that's what I mean when I say the trading crisis. This applies to Eldar, it applies to Drukhari, it applies to Tyranids, it applies to a lot of armies in the entire game. They also, well, listen, something's going to have to hold your home field. Might as well be something that's going to be holding your home field and also still shooting. Yes, it's super expensive, so if you were taking them just to hold your home field, you're a fool, but that's not why we're just taking them. And they do always require Oath of Moment if you're using the indirect, which is why you're bringing them. So they are very, very resource intensive because they require your Oath of Moment to be able to really hit anything, seeing as they just hit on 4s using the indirect roll. But there are tons of ways to boost them. So let's go over the base damage of these bad boys, and I'm going to show you the base damage. So we're going to do a couple things. With the base damage, I'm just going to show you what happens if they have Super Oath, meaning they're Codex compliant and they get +1 to wound against their Oath of Moment target, and what happens if you don't have Super Oath. But we're also going to assume they're always remaining stationary for ignore cover. All right, so we have into a 5-man Eldar squad with a 4-up armor save, 5-up invulnerable save. So we're thinking Howling Banshees, we're thinking Rangers. Some of these really actually annoying units, because Rangers, they get the reactive move, so it can be kind of hard to position to kill them. Howling Banshees, they've got the fights first, which will just devastate any infantry that do go into them. So these are units that are actually really big problems for a lot of Marines players. Well, if you do have Super Oath, and you shoot them with your Desolation Marines, well, it is a 200-point unit. But you're going to deal 4.6 damage from the Castellans, and then another 4 damage, so you'll kill 2 models, with the Vanguard Launcher, which means you're going to wipe a Howling Banshee squad on average. This is very critically important to understand. This is a huge deal. It means now suddenly you don't have to trade something to soak up the fight first. It means that you don't have to worry about their heroic interventions anymore because you can just kill that Howling Banshee squad. That's a big resource that your Eldar player really needs in their army that you can just be like, boom, it's gone. Now, if you don't have Super Oath, it's only going to be 3.7 damage and like 2 damage respectively. So you're going to neuter it, but one model probably lives. Now, what does it do into a 5-man Marine squad? Well, you're going to kill roughly 2.5 Marines. If you have Super Oath. If you don't have Super Oath, you're going to kill 1.5 Marines. So it's not very good into power armored Marines. Now, if you have a 10-man Guardsman squad, now we're starting to cook. So with Super Oath, you're killing 8 without 6.6 with the Excellence, and then you're killing roughly 3 either way with the Vanguard Launcher. So you're killing a 10-man Guardsman squad. So that's going to be a 65-point unit on average that you just obliterate. Now, this might not sound super impressive, but remember, when you kill this unit, you're not trading anything for it. It just dies. You're not exposing yourself to your opponent. You're not giving your opponent the ability to shoot you or to retaliate in any way. You're just getting rid of one of their units like that. So for a 200-point unit to be able to do that, even though you're only killing 65 points in one activation, they can do this every single turn, which is a very, very big deal. Now, what happens if we go into a 20-man guard squad? Well, if you're going into a 20-man guardsman squad and you are ignoring cover, dude, you're straight up killing like almost 15 models with the Castellans and almost 5 models with the Vanguard Launcher. Like, you can just straight up kill a 20-man blob of guardsmen, which is a ton. And then 10 Orc Boys, you're going to kill 5 with Super Oath, 3.3 without Super Oath. Then you're going to kill like 2, close to 3 with the Vanguard Launcher, or 2 with the Vanguard Launcher if you don't have Super Oath. So this is leading us to the big key, and we'll get to the big key in just a little bit. But first off, let's talk about how are we going to turbocharge these Desolation Marines to make these numbers look even better, and what are the strategies that we're going to use to get them there. So let's start with Gladius. So let's say we're playing Ultramarines. So 2 things that Ultramarines and Gladius really give you to make these Desolation Marines significantly better. 1, you can give them Storm of Fire, and you have access to the second Oath of Moment target, which is a very, very big deal. It means that the Desolation Marines are not soaking up your exclusive Oath of Moment target. This is assuming, of course, that you're bringing Robute Guilliman, which most Ultramarine armies are going to be bringing Mr. Robute Guilliman at this point. So with Super Oath, and you spend your Fire Discipline, so let's say you give them a Librarian who can lead them, because they can't be led by lieutenants, unfortunately, but also probably pretty good for the game, because we don't need a huge indirect meta again. Trust me, I hate indirect. I'm just unfortunately having to use it right now because of stupid things in the game. But if you give them the Librarian who has the Fire Discipline, and you have Storm of Fire, so AP1 ignoring cover, which they're already going to be doing, already ignoring the cover, but the AP1 is a big deal now. You're going to kill 8.3 Orc Boys if you have the sustained hits from Fire Discipline, 6.25 if you don't have the sustained hits. And then you're going to be killing 4.5 with the Vanguard Launcher if you do have it, at 3.4 if you do not have the Fire Discipline enhancement. So this is a very, very big deal. It means that this squad is just picking up a 10-man unit of Orc Boys. That actually really, really matters because it gives you a different class of unit that you can actually threaten. Now, I've already mentioned now in Ultramarines, you get that second Oath due to Robota Guilliman, and that is a very big deal. Now, this package is more expensive than the base Desolation Marines. Completely understand that. You're looking at 285 points for the unit because you need the Librarian and the Fire Discipline. It actually might be 290. If I'm off by 5 points, it is what it is. And then it's going to cost you 1 CP in the form of using your Storm of Fire strat for it as well. So be aware that that does matter. All right. Then we can put them in Ironstorm. Now, Ironstorm is going to have the most expensive combination, but it's also a pretty impressive combination. So basically, here's the combo. You can actually take your Desolation Marines, and this is a general strategy that works in a lot of scenarios, not only in Ironstorm, but you can hop those things in your Impulsor. Don't forget that your Impulsor has the Firing Deck keyword, meaning you can shoot all the indirect guns out of the Impulsor to give your Desolation Marines a lot more speed and mobility to get around the battlefield, and some protection just in case like a Deep Striker wanted to come in and kill the Impulsor, or the Deep Striker or they have indirect of their own to try to kill your Desolation Marines. So it's actually a very interesting thing. I recently learned that in a game against GSC, I might want to just start them inside the Impulsor so that the Achilles Ridge Runners don't just annoyingly kill 1 or 2 of my Desolation Marines turn 1. Now, in Ironstorm, we have a Tech Marine who can give lethal hits to the unit, which would be the Impulsor. And you have the 2 CP strat for sustained hits and criticals on 5s. I believe it's 2 CP. I can't remember this. If it's 1 CP, forgive me, but I believe it's 2 CP. I think it's called the Flesh is Weak is that stratagem. So now suddenly you're getting full rerolls to hit with Oath of Moment with both sustained and lethals on 5s full rerolls, of course, and Super Oath in a lot of the factions. If you're running this in an Iron Storm, this gives you a lot more damage. You're looking at either 4 and 10 dead boys for the Vanguard Excellence, or up to 5 and 13 if you do have that Super Oath. And then you're looking at, and this is, mind you, not ignoring cover. If you have a way to ignore cover, it gets actually even better. And this is just a 10-man guard, 10-man boy squad, so they're doing the most damage into orc boys out there, and you're still by far easily wiping a 10-man unit of guardsmen. And actually, I think you would kill like almost 40 guardsmen if you're shooting into a 20-man blob. So it's a ton of damage. It is an absolute nightmare for opponents that are running these, chaff infantry horde style armies on the board. Now, problem being is that it's a very expensive combination. You're spending 200 points on the Desolation Squad, 800 or 80 points on the Impulsor, and I think it's 85 on the Tech Marine, who has the lethal enhancement. Plus, it's going to cost 2 CP for the stratagem, and it's your Oath Moment target. So it's not necessarily a combination that you're going to want to use all the time, but it is something that is shockingly good. And don't forget that you can still be shooting the super crack missiles out of the open top as well, if I'm not mistaken. No, actually you can't, because you can only shoot one weapon equipped by each model, so forgive me. But it is a very, very interesting damage combo that can screw up some game plans. It's super expensive, and you're probably not going to be doing this every turn, but sometimes just for one time, just wiping a 20-man blob of something that was sitting in a place that your opponent really didn't think was going to be killed can just be devastating to the entire game. What if you're playing new orcs, and the orcs are running Gadskull Thraka with the freaking 20-man orc boy squad that can't go inside a battle wagon? If you do this one time, you could just delete that entire unit, and then your opponent basically just automatically loses the game. So there are a lot of scenarios where this combination is devastating. So don't sleep on it just because you think Desolation Marines are overcosted. And I'm going to give you one more great opportunity to use your Desolation Marines, and then I'm going to go specifically into targeting options for them for you. So Wrath of the Rock, you got a +2 strength on ranged weaponry stratagem. You've got a 2 CP stratagem for a new oath target. So similar to the Ultramarines, we can get 2 Oath of Moment targets, which increases their flexibility. And then with a +2 strength on ranged weaponry strat, now some of those Desolation Marines, while they don't get Super Oath, so they don't get the +1 to wound, they do get +2 strength, which takes them from a strength of 4 to a strength of 6, which in certain scenarios actually can count as effectively +2 to wound certain models. Now, not that you're really looking to wound shoot Terminators with these guys, but if you're T5 base, going from strength 4 to strength 3 is going to be taking you from wounding on 5s to wounding on 3s, which is then effectively +2 to wound. Orc boys are probably the best example of a unit that this is really good into, or orc knobs, things like this. Wolfen are actually a pretty good option. I think actually Wolfen are a pretty good option for this as well. But it also takes the Vanguard launcher all the way to strength 9, which means not only is this squad now threatening, orc boys and their equivalent, it's also threatening light vehicles such as Venoms. You will kill a Drukhari Venom with the Desolation Marines, which is very interesting. Now, the Vanguard launcher will kill 3 orc boys and 6.77 from the Castellans. It'll be 3 and 8.33 into guardsmen, respectively. So Wrath of the Rock really likes this unit. And now let's get into the tips on how to actually run these, because we saw the damage. Now, a lot of you might be thinking still, all right, Jonathan, I get it, but the damage isn't really that impressive. You can kill chaff. Big whoop-de-doo. Why is that a big deal? Here's why it's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal because Marine armies many times cannot afford to ever trade my 5-man JPI squad to kill your 10-man guardsman squad, because the Imperial Guards player or the Ashton Miltaran player is going to have way more units just constantly throw out there than the Marine player. With these Desolation Marines, even though they're only killing those lighter units, you kill all those lighter units without your opponent ever being able to punish you for it. If you're playing into Eldar, I picked up Howling Banshees in turn 1. I picked up the other squad of Howling Banshees in turn 2. Now your opponent has 0 melee, and they are completely screwed. They can't heroic intervene when you do your push. Or you kill their Rangers in turn 1, and now they're not holding their natural expansion, so they don't get primary in turn 2. And then you just do it again, forcing them to really put too many units forward, allowing you to get a really hard push. This is a very, very big deal. So don't get ambitious with them, and do not go into targets they're not made for. Kill the chaff. Kill the trash. Trash wins games. I cannot tell you how many games I've had a 40-point unit of Gretchen on my home field that have just scored me 20 victory points over the course of the game. or 23 victory points because of the defense stronghold, or 25 victory points because of the defense stronghold, and and half of the extend battle line points, right? So that 40-point unit can be exceptionally valuable in terms of winning the game. So your Desolation Marines just pick it up, boom, and suddenly it's not doing that for your opponent. That can be devastating. It's not always about killing the Death Star units or killing the super scary units. It's about getting rid of the trash so that the super scary units now have to focus on scoring and not destroying your enemies. So think about that. Always, 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 big tip here, guys. Always prioritize your combi lieutenants' reroll wound rolls of 1 with their ideal targets. So what I mean by this, because the combi lieutenant will allow you to choose one objective marker that you can just get reroll wound rolls of 1 as long as the combi lieutenant is still alive. When you pair this with your Desolation Marines, it will dramatically increase the reliability of your Desolation Marines. So here's the way I make my decision on which objective I'm going to actually be putting that on, okay? So if I am playing someone and I know they're like a melee pressure army, let's say they're like a World Eaters, or they're going to be coming to me, I know that they're going to be coming after my natural expansion. I'm probably just going to put it on my natural expansion, not because I'm necessarily thinking about shooting them, but just generally speaking for the game in general, I know I'm going to need the wound rerolls there. Now, if I am playing into an opponent that is probably not going to be pressuring into me, but is just going to be scoring their points and then trying to take like little bite-sized chunks out of me, Eldar, for example, I'm going to be using this ability on their natural expansion. So every single time they try to put Rangers on that natural expansion, I have a little layer of redundancy getting the reroll wound rolls of 1 just to destroy them. If you're on a search and destroy map where you can get their home field, you can even put reroll wound rolls of 1 on your opponent's home field. Now, this is something that I find a lot of people just tend to freaking forget, but it's not something that you should forget. It does not have to go on an objective in No Man's Land. You can put it on any objective marker. And with the use of Desolation Marines, sometimes putting on their home field is really good, meaning they can't just leave trash at home because you'll just kill all the trash. They have to leave something actually durable enough to survive the Desolation Marines back home, which can be devastating to your opponent. Now, when you do the reroll wound rolls of 1, it definitely takes the average of killing. It takes you to killing 10 guardsmen with a Castellan launchers and killing 4 with a Vanguard launcher, all the way up from killing 8 to 3. So you can see there's actually a really big mathematical difference of getting those reroll wound rolls of 1 with your guys. All right, now here's the big key. Okay, when you do this, this eliminates the need to trade for trash. I've said this 3 times in this video, so I hope this is really going to get through to you how freaking valuable it is that you never have to trade one of your units. Yes, if you don't take the Desolation Marines, you could get a unit of Inceptors and a unit of Incursors or something, and that's 2 units instead of having 1. But now you don't need 2 units because you can just get rid of his stuff and never have to trade, and you can effectively play as if you have more units because you're not going to be losing the units in the trading battle. If you master and you implement these things with the Desolation Marines in the detachments that I said, you are going to love it, and you're going to have such a blast playing them, literally. But I don't think Desolation Marines should be used in every detachment. You really need a little bit of something else in them. In Wrath of the Rock, we get the +2 strength, and we get the second oath target. That's why I like them there. Plus, I have these Deathwing Knights that are very expensive. That means I definitely won't have units to be trading out before so I'd rather just take one more unit that can do all of my trading in quotation marks for me so that I don't have to lose trash because I don't have the points to afford much trash. Then in Gladius, you can get the bonus AP on them, of course, with the second oath moment target, and you can even give them fire discipline if you want to get really, really spicy. And then in Ironstorm, like I said, you can do that crazy wombo combo, and you don't have to do that every turn. You can sometimes, if you just do that once, that's plenty. Because you could just pick up the entire 20-man boys blob with Gazgul Thraka with that combination once. So, guys, these are the general tips. This is how to run Desolation Marines. If you like this content, smash the like button, subscribe. You can join me for private coaching if you are looking for more ways to implement some of the units that you want to be running in your army so that you can crush your foes on the battlefield of the 41st millennia. If you want coaching, make sure you check out the links down below. You can buy those at my coffee, which is a great place to do it. Also, you can join the Discord for lots of other up-to-date strategic advantages while you're trying to, I don't know, just dominate people. Until next time, crop on. Bye-bye. Love you all.